Welcome to Business Beyond the Game. I'm Eric Jackson, and I'm joined today by a special guest, three-time MLB All-Star turned analyst, Curtis Granderson. Curtis, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm so super stoked that you're here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Curtis, MLB's paid attendance broke the 70 million mark. First time since 2017. A big reason for this is the new rules that has brought the average time of an MLB game down. Are you a fan of the new rules? Is it better for the game? I'm a bit of a purist, but I want to hear your perspective on it.
Well, I saw that note about the record breaking in attendance. I think that's great. I think it shows, especially after coming out of the what happened in 2020, just everything across the world. And once things have kind of come back, so many more people are excited to get outside. And baseball is an outside attended sport, especially in the summertime. The weather's warm. You want to be out there enjoying with family and friends. And I think baseball caters to that. Now with these new rules, and I think the biggest one that I think helped with that is the fact that every team plays everybody now.
Mm.
Historically, you had 162 games and not everybody played everyone. And most recently, last year, Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees breaks the American League home run record. And the Milwaukee Brewers tweeted out that it was the first time in 6 years that the Yankees had come to Milwaukee. So just imagine that as a baseball fan or as a
Mm.
sports fan, somebody that breaks a record and you don't get a chance to see them in your own home ballpark. So now with that new change, in addition to the bigger bases, the speed
Mhm.
clock, the pitching over and all that stuff, I think has really helped amp this thing up for the fans that have already been there and some of the new fans that are trying to check it out for the first time.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. It's like that 8-year-old fan in the stands, right? Getting to see Aaron Judge break the record, right? And maybe becoming a new fan of baseball, right?
Right. And
That.
just imagine if that didn't happen. I mean, think of some of the greats in all the other sports. I'm from Chicago and Michael Jordan, arguably one of the best basketball players ever to do it. And just imagine if he never came to play against your team, wherever it happened to be. Just from a marketing standpoint, from growing the game, just the excitement. It's almost how wrestling used to be back in the day. You had Andre the Giant. You would hear about him, you would read about him, but you had to wait until he came to your city to see him. But some of the greats like an Aaron Judge, like a Mookie Betts, like a Shohei Ohtani, get a chance to come to your ballpark, and I think it's just great for the game.
No, absolutely, for sure. And, Curtis, you're part of the Players Alliance, a platform focused on driving equity and access to the game. How passionate are you about just getting more people of color involved in baseball and, becoming fans of the sport?
It's huge. And the Players Alliance, we started in 2020 in that year where, again, everything was just so in flux, and we had what happened with George
Right.
Floyd play out worldwide, and black players, both former, current, and active, got a chance to come together, say we want to see a lot more change in this game. A lot of things we've been talking about, a lot of things we've been pushing for, both in and outside of the game. And it's not just getting players on the field, because that's challenging. It doesn't matter what race you are. It's hard
Right.
to play at a professional level in whatever sport it happens to be. But those front office jobs, those scouting jobs, potentially ownership, those fans in the stands, the communities where we live and play. These are all part of the initiatives of the Players Alliance. And for anyone that's out there that wants to check us out, go to playersalliance.org. And you can follow us on all social channels as well. But this is what we're striving for, what we're trying to see have happen. And when you talk about the record breaking attendance of those numbers, you definitely want to see more of us in the stands as well.
Great. Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. According to the Institute for Diversity and Ethics, only 6% of MLB players this season were black or African American. How does this lack of representation, Curtis, at the big league level, hurt the grassroots efforts? I feel like if more kids saw a Curtis Granderson or a Tim Anderson, it could be more helpful.
Well, it definitely goes back to that playing everybody in addition to marketing the game. One things I've always said historically, and I know linear television is kind of going by the wayside, but if you look at just the standard advertising that pops up during a commercial break for whatever your favorite show happens to be, it's not uncommon to see a NFL player or an NBA player selling you insurance or selling you the coolest drink or a new car. But it's very rare that you'll see that baseball player doing that. And it's one of those things, if we can find ways to just interact and immerse ourselves in those other cultures. And I think that's a baseball initiative
Mhm.
because there are a lot of players that want to do it. So you're watching your favorite show and the break comes on and here comes star player, insert whoever that happens to
Mhm.
be. And not just on the team that you like, but on all of the other teams, this can help grow that game because when you see someone that looks like you or has something that you can relate to, whether it's the clothes they wear, the music they're listening to, the food they like, their favorite color, their favorite number, you go, I like that player. I'm interested in that player. I want to see more about that player. I mean, we've seen it happen in all the other sports. It could definitely work in baseball. And now that gets you a little bit more interested to say, you know what? I want to try it. I want to continue to keep playing it. I want to watch it, and you
Right.
start to grow more fans, you start to grow more players, you get more people involved in the game, but it's got to be a concerted effort across the board.
I know, and I mentioned that 6% number, but at one point I think it was in the double digits, right, in terms of Black and African American players in the league. Curtis, what do you think happened? Right, it seems like we went back a little bit. It's a little confusing because I feel like we have more infrastructure now and programs.
You know, there's
Scratches
so
my
many
head.
different Yeah, there's so many different things that have led to this, and it wasn't just one thing, and it didn't just happen overnight. And you're correct; it used to be as high as I think 15, if not 16 or
Right,
17% back in the
right.
70s or the 80s, and now we're at 6%. On opening day this year, I think there were four teams that did not have a African American Black player on their opening day roster, and that's mind-boggling if you think about it. Especially when some people still call this game America's pastime, but it's definitely not represented that way, at least on opening day on the field. So you look at a number of different things, and I know we can get long on this, but I'll focus on one right now. When NCAA took the college scholarships down from 15 down to 11.7, a lot of people said that there was a direct correlation to how those numbers affected Major League Baseball. That happened
Mm,
around the 70s. That's when Major League Baseball had the highest representation. You look where we are now in 2023, it's a
right.
lot lower across the board. Then you also look at, well, how do we get more players into the minor league system? Well, you look at the college, you look at the Major League Baseball amateur draft. Well, this last year, 80% of the drafted players came from college. Well, if we've reduced the college scholarships
Mm,
and we've reduced the number of ways that you can get into college, well, then you're going to start to see that if we're drafting college players and a lot of those college players aren't black, then you're going to start to see that number continually dwindle and dwindle down because you're not getting as many people into the system. And case in point, one of my teammates, CC Sabathia, one of our vice chairs for the Players Alliance, he was a great player in baseball, a great player in football. He had a big scholarship offer for baseball, but his mom said, "Hey, I can't afford to pay the rest of that. You're going to have to decide something else." So he actually took the full scholarship in football. Luckily for baseball, he was drafted in baseball, and that was an opportunity for him to go. But there's a lot of families out there that just aren't black that run into this issue that if I can't get a full scholarship, college may not be the route for me. So
mm.
that's definitely something that we have to look at and try to entertain. How do we get more kids into college? Because that may be the option for them. And if they don't make it to professional baseball, at least they're being educated and they can go on to work in this game because, of course, we're showing that you need higher levels of education in order to be involved in this game.
Right, no, definitely. And you would say mainly it starts at the grassroots level. You would say at youth academies, that sort of deal. You would say is that.
It's interesting. I started playing when I was 6 years old. I mean, you can play
Mm,
t-ball as young as three now, and we have a lot of kids that play between the ages of 6 and 12. The issue becomes when you go from 12 to 13. There were
mm,
some numbers that came out recently that across the board in the United States, there's about 3+ million kids that play baseball in some form or fashion between the ages of 6 and 12. Soon as you turn 13, that number drops by almost 2 million kids. And we
wow.
have to start thinking, why is there such a big drop there? First, obviously, there's other things kids become interested in. There's other sports, there's other activities. A lot more things are popular now than they used to be. But the field gets bigger when you go from 12 to 13.
Mm,
The expense gets higher.
yep.
Travel ball,
Travel
which is a
ball.
very exciting thing, has definitely become one of the few ways you can continue to play. And we've talked about the challenges of paying for college. The challenges to play travel baseball are even more. I got friends and family that are telling me I'm thinking about purchasing an RV to help save on the cost for travel baseball because these hotels and going all across the country just for my child to play at the age of 13 are just so high. So these are again some of those things that we need to think about because if you just want to play the game, you shouldn't be priced out of it.
Right. No, absolutely. That's a great point for sure. And you were very vocal in this as you were as a player, and you still are, carrying that responsibility, which I think is awesome. And for you, you're also doing your own side mission now. These days you're providing coverage on TNT for MLB coverage. And were you always interested, Curtis, being a media member when you were playing, or did you pick this up once you retired? How did you end up in this route here?
It's interesting. I started my major league career in 2004. I made my debut, but then after my 2007, I think 2008 regular season, TBS reached out and said, "Hey, would you like to come in studio and be one of our analysts for a round of the playoffs?" And I said, "Sure, let's try it out." And I got sits next to Frank Thomas and Cal Ripken and Dennis Eckersley, and
Wow.
I was like, "Wow, this is great company to be sitting next to."
Right.
And I get a chance to see how this unfolds. Now, I was fortunate enough that a lot of the years afterwards, I continued to get to the playoffs, so that opportunity didn't present itself. But towards the end of my career, that opportunity was still on the table, and TBS was interested in me coming back. I was interested in checking it out, and I really enjoyed seeing it unfold, not only just in the playoffs, but also during the regular season. We come to your households every Tuesday night on TBS to bring you the game of the week. That then takes us to the playoffs where we cover the division series and the championship series. And that's when all the eyeballs are on it. And now we get a chance to break it down and bring it to you, talk to you about it beforehand, talk to you about it afterwards. It's been really cool. Plus, I got a great crew. I got Pedro Martinez, Hall of Famer. I got Jimmy Rollins. I got Ernie Johnson. I had Lauren Shahadi for the earlier part of the season. I mean, this is a really good crew to be with, to sit there, watch, and talk about baseball.
Very cool. Yeah, you're on the other side of it now, which is very interesting for sure. And Curtis, you played 16 years in the MLB, and to wrap this up, if you could just leave us with, what's the best business lesson that you learned during your career that's applicable, you think, to life today?
I think there's two things there. One, this game is has to be the same fun game that you started playing when you were little. And you can equate that to so many different things as you move forward. If you're going to enjoy it and you're going to have fun with it, then you're going to want to continue to keep doing it. You're going to want to work at it and try to find a way to get better at it. Whether that's school, whether that's life, whether that's family, whether that's business, whatever it happens to be. If you enjoy it, you're going to want to spend more time doing it. And I always wrote underneath my baseball cap, don't think, have fun. I gotta have
Mm,
fun out there. If there's 50,000 people out there, there's five people out there. If I'm gonna enjoy it, then I'm gonna want to be out there. If I don't want to be out there, then let me just go ahead and pull myself away from it. So trying to find ways to have fun with it. And then last one is you're gonna fail a lot at this game.
mm,
Everything is not going to be perfect. You're not always gonna get it the way that you want to. But we can learn from that. Why did we fail? How do I improve? How do I get better? And I think that correlates to having it be fun because if I do get better and I am able to improve, of course, we know we're going to enjoy it and have a lot more fun at it. And that goes across the board: school, life,
mm.
family, baseball, whatever the sport happens to be. So, those are my two bits that I'd like for people to take away: have fun, and how do you learn from the failure?
Love that. Rolling with the punches. Love that for sure. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Curtis Granderson, three-time MLB All-Star turned analyst. Curtis, thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thank you very much. This was great.